The law of correspondence, which was studied and followed through Hermetic sciences by ancient Egyptians and also through the Zohar by the ancient Kabbalah mysticism, tells us that wherever your soul resides is wherever your body, your 3D, your physical follows. So wherever you are in your higher state of being is whatever is being reflected in this 3D reality of yours, is whatever is being manifested in this 3D reality. We know that this existence altogether is the manifestation of pure conscious energy, is the manifestation of our higher self's consciousness. And so that's how it works. Now, what happens so often is that you might reach somewhere through your physical, through your 3D. You might be putting in the effort with your physical, with your 3D in this world. You might be working hard on something, you might be learning something new, you might be adopting new habits and letting go of old habits that don't serve you any longer. However, you don't find that your life is following up, your life is not catching up. And that's because very so often many of us would align externally, perhaps through the physical. We are pursuing the things we want and we are changing according to it, but deep down in our soul, that's not being reflected, that's not being aligned, that's not being corresponded. So deep down in your soul there's something, or in your higher state of being, what is in your soul, in your spirit, is whatever you align with on a higher state of dimensions, on higher states of being, in higher dimensions. And so sometimes is that we feel deep down that we are unworthy, and that's what we radiate into the universe, that's what we imbue in our energetic fields. And you feel as if you are undeserving. It is something that left deep marks on you, and now you're just trying to change on the surface. And so your reality is not catching up because your higher self is not there yet. You are trying to force your way through something. And that's happening because you are forcing action, you are forcing thoughts, you are trying to work so hard against all odds, and you feel so much resistance building within you. You don't feel comfortable working hard, you don't feel as if it's even aligned with you, not necessarily comfortable, because there are many things that are not comfortable, yet they are for our good, we are aligned with, but rather you don't feel as if you are aligned with it. There's so much built up resistance against doing that thing. And then you know that it is because your higher self is not yet aligned with it, because then it would be inspired action, passionate action, inspired thinking, intuition. You do it intuitively, you receive an intuition, and with that intuition you receive a surge in your energy that allows you to fulfill the calling. And what happens here is that rather than going in the right way, we go the other way around in a sense, and our souls, our higher selves is left behind. And so we try forcing our way through things as pure, single, mere ego. And that's how all the suffering and struggling begins. That's how you prolong the journey on yourself, and that's how you make it harder on yourself. Because if you align your higher self with something, it's so much easier to pursue it, so much easier to have it. And the other thing is that with this deep feeling of unworthiness or being undeserving of something, you are modest in your callings, you are modest with your pursuits, the pursuits of your higher self. When you set, for example, I realized this early on, is that sometimes when I used to try to manifest some things through visualizations, through affirmations, through meditations, basically through accessing deep states of meditation, and being that thing, having that thing, living that thing, feeling as if I already have that thing, and with all of the corresponding emotions that have to do with that thing, I realized that I was often so modest. You think to yourself, oh no, that's too far-fetched, that's too unrealistic, that's too unbelievable. And if you go to in your mind, deep in your mind, towards that thing you're pursuing but feel so much resistance towards, you're going to find that you are feeling the same thing towards it. You are feeling as if it's too unrealistic, it's too far-fetched. Perhaps you're trying to have a dream, your dream partner, it's something out of your dreams, but then you feel as if no, that's not realistic, that's not that's something that happens only in movies or on TV, and I shouldn't set my standards so high. Or perhaps you're trying to make a certain amount of money, $1 million. You're seeking financial abundance, and then you're saying, maybe a million is too much. Let's make it more realistic with 100,000 or 50,000. You're going to sense that there's always such nicks, such knots and limitations to whatever you have aligned with. And that tells you that deep down your soul feels unworthy towards that thing. Or perhaps you're trying to build your business, an amazing business, but then whenever you envision it, you try to envision it as that huge thing, and it grew so well. You feel deep down that it's too much, that's you feel in a sense that this is not really going to happen, although you're dedicated, you're committed, and you're envisioning it and you believe in it. Deep down you feel as if something is telling you, is this really possibly going to happen? Could that really happen? Could I actually do this thing? Could I actually make it to that place? Could I actually be in that position? You're going to feel that there's such questions rising up within you, and that's because you have resistance. You have preset within your programming a resistance to that thing for whatever reason that developed that in the past. But now your higher self is not there. Your higher self is wherever it got stuck in the past, is wherever your programming has dictated. And now you have to focus on your higher self. You have to align your higher self. It's perhaps easier when you think about yourself, your soul, your higher self as a vessel of frequency, as a vessel to frequency. This is going to help put things in perspective. And whatever frequency you feed that vessel more is whatever is going to win, is whatever your higher self is being aligned with. And then it's going to imprint that on your physical, on your 3D, and it's going to be reflected externally in your 3D reality, in your life. So if you think about it as within your soul, within your higher self, within your infinite state of being, rather, you as pure conscious energy, in that form, you have a devil, you have the potential of the devil, you have the potential of the angels, you have the potential of God, you have the potential of the infinite, you have the potential of the nothing and nowhere and nobody and everything and everywhere and everybody. Whatever you feed more, whatever potentially feed more through your repetitions, through your heart's attention, through giving it emotional value, through giving it emotional energy, through feeding it, through talking about it, through affirming it, through being it in meditative states, through being attached to your past, through being attached to a trauma that happened in the past, through being defined by your past, through being defined by your vision to the future. Those are all the opposites I'm mentioning here. It could be this, it could be that, it could be anything you want it to be. Whichever you really feed more through continuous effort, through repetition, through mental belief, through healing, you could heal that past. You could stop defining yourself by your past. You could stop identifying with that traumatizing event that happened in your childhood that's still making you believe that you are limited, that's still making you think that there are limits to what you seek, to what you can achieve, to what you can have, to where you could be. The more you actually be that through, in meditative states, and there's really a fine line, there's really a subtle perspective. It's very evasive. Every time I try to access that perspective, it's still, I still struggle with truly accessing those states in meditations. There are, it's endless, it's infinite what you could access. Mental states of beings, mind states in meditation, it's infinite states of being. But there's this perspective in which you really feel as if you could have everything and anything, that you don't have to be modest, that there's something, that you are in control. It is through the understanding that you are in control, that you are the creator, that you channel the energy of everything and anything in existence, that you are pure conscious energy, that you are an extension of God, of Source. It comes and you believe it so deeply that you are the creator of your life, that you create things into existence just like you created everything that had happened in your life. And once you're able to access it, you feel as if you are deserving of anything, no matter how far-fetched it might have seemed, no matter how far away you thought it actually is. It now seems very plausible, it seems very doable, it seems very probable. Not even just possible, it is that you have it, and you feel it through your meditations, where which you used to feel as if, is that really going to happen? Am I really going to get to that place? Now you're feeling as if, no, that's what I want. It feels as such. Now you know that you're accessing that perspective, that it's very subtle, but you will know it in that way. That now you feel as if I deserve it. You feel as if I know this is going to come. This is happening. This is happening because that's me, because I'm aligned with that, because I'm not defined by my past, because this is who I am now. And it's like demanding, but it's not really demanding because there's no attachment to the outcome, but it's so much like demanding. That's when you know that you are now worthy of it, because you have the guts to demand it, rather than being modest and trying to, should I try this, or should I try that thing, or should I try to make it a bit less. Now it is you're becoming the embodiment of that thing, and now you know that you have risen, your higher self have rose to that frequency. And so now your vessel is being whatever energy you're choosing to feed. If you choose to feed the devil in it, it's going to tend more towards the your demon aspect. If you choose to feed the God, the angel in it, it's going to become more aligned with that, and it's going to reflect in your 3D reality. Think of, yes, the generic, the stereotypical of how demons would live, and it's basically, if you feed the light, you're going to access more of your God state. If you feed the darkness, you're going to access more of your devil state, and that's low vibrations, low frequency, shame, guilt, fear, evil, hatred, despite, darkness, loneliness, solitude, hatred, uncontent, discontent, uncomfortable. All of the time, you're going to be dealing and struggling with such experiences that's being reflected in your external life, versus God's energy, God frequency, blissful, joyful, peaceful, loving, grateful, graceful, so on and so forth. Now once you realize that you could feed either of that to your soul as being the vessel to frequency, now you understand that this frequency then reflects into your life, onto your 3D reality. And a good aspect of even knowing where your soul resides is dreams. That's perhaps a whole different topic. It needs its video by itself. But your dreams give you a good insight on where your soul resides, on where your higher self is. It tells you, it access, especially if you're connected, if you're trying to be connected, if you're seeking connection and being true to yourself, your dreams will often be a portrayal of who you truly are, of where your true self is, of what your true self is struggling with, of what you are in your higher state of being. It's just because your soul almost your ego completely asleep when you're sleeping, and so the only thing that remains is your spirit, is your higher self, is your true self, in other words. And then if you're able to see that, dreams is when you're able to remember your dreams, it means that you are already on the higher state of things, on the higher side of frequencies, the end of the spectrum or whatever, because you're able to remember yourself when you are in your higher state of being, and that by itself requires energy, requires you to be at a specific frequency. It means you are accessing your higher state of being to a certain extent, although when asleep, but you are doing it. And so that gives you also good insight, a good hint. Whatever you're dreaming of, what do you dream of, what do you see in your dreams, where do you travel in your dreams, and more so, of course, is astral projection, if you're able to do that. And so the whole point here is that you shift your awareness, you expand your awareness to knowing that you can access anything, that you could be anything. It's like dimensions. You are growing from one dimension to another, from one dimension to another. Think of dimensions as this world, as one dimension within this earth. There are continents, there are countries, there are towns, cities, towns, states, all the way to your neighborhood, to your house, to your room. The more you get out of your room, the more you're able to access things. When you're only in your room, there's only so much that you could do. Once you start accessing the rest of your house, the rest of your apartment, there's so much more you could do. Then once you start accessing the neighborhood, the country, the continent, the world, and then beyond that is the planets, is the cosmos, is the solar system, is the universe. And so think of it in that way. The higher the dimension, the more you could access, the more you unlock, the more potential you unlock for yourself, the more you're opening yourself to things to be plausible, to be possible, to be probable into your life, to come into being in your existence in this 3D reality. And so, just like a baby cannot fathom, if you tell a baby, travel to a different country, that's, it's unfathomable to a baby. Versus when you tell an adult. Some adults think of traveling still like a baby. It means that they have not expanded their consciousness. Perhaps, it depends on, I don't want to be, segregate people, but to some people, depending on the class, depending on how they were raised, depending on, poor or wealthy, or, but it all depends on the mentality in the end. It really doesn't have to do anything with poor or wealthy, but just to simplify, just to put it in perspective for you, some people would, when you tell them you're traveling, it's like, oh my God, God be with you. It's such a long path. You have a long journey ahead of you. When you tell someone else, they're like, it's just a flight, it's just traveling, I'm gonna be eating, I'm gonna be, the other versus the other which they expect, it's like so far, something that's so far-fetched. They're like, okay, pack enough food, pack enough clothes, pack enough this and that. It's like we're still living in the Stone Age, and that's just all has to do with your awareness. Expand your awareness, expand your worthiness, expand your dimensions. The more you raise your soul into higher dimensions, the more you're able to access higher state of livings in this 3D reality. The more wealth, the more abundance, the more joy, the more love, the more peace, the more gratitude you're able to access in this reality. When you raise your higher state of being to access those higher dimensions, take your soul, make it a frequency of love, make it vibrate on the frequency of bliss, of gratitude, of peace, of love, of grace, and you will find that your body will follow directly, will join instantly, because it has no other choice. That's how things works. That's how the law of correspondence, that's what it dictates. And it's been mentioned over and over and over and over in many different fields of studies through many different forms, that's how life works. It's just that it's very subtle and evasive and almost ineffable, that it's so hard to actually follow, lead by this perspective, lead by this belief. Thank you so much for tuning into another video by AF's Conscious Frequency. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, to like this video, because it helps the video find its way to many more others who might actually need it.